that will cook.
Welcome to McDongles. I head up the compartmentalization of department heads department, and I'm inside your head right now to let you know that we care about stuff. That stuff. The stuff you're thinking of. Isn't that comforting? Introducing the Okonomiyaki. It checks off all the wonderfully addictive fast food boxes while still retaining the marketability of something healthy. It's really popular all over the internet. Look at this asshole telling everyone about how great it is. He's doing our jobs for us. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yes, so you guys, this is really great. Okay, now let's go to how to make it.
Let's go to the recipe.
For the dry ingredients, add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, followed by 1 cup of flour to a mixing bowl and whisk to combine. To replace the grated Japanese mountain yam, whose gloopy slime strands would presumably hold this thing together, we can simply substitute with a mixture of 1 teaspoon baking powder inside of 1 cup of milk. Pour your yam substitute into the flour, followed by 1 cup of dashi stock. I'm just using some leftover miso soup from a free lunch that I'm still waiting to pay for somehow. Then stir to combine and let rest in the fridge for 30 minutes. Then finally chop a cabbage until you can no longer tell the pieces apart from one another.
Their individuality must be completely subsumed by the herd.
Then set aside and put the next item up on the chopping block. Give yourself a gold banana sticker for successfully chopping all the onion roots with one smooth motion, and do like the cabbage. Then I chopped 3 poblano peppers using the cheek cutting method from here, and do like the onions. Then I chopped up a good amount of pickled ginger. Same deal with the kimchi. I actually ended up using up that whole jar, and do like the onions. I love seaweed, so I always try to cram as much as possible into the batter whenever I'm making okonomiyaki. As far as I'm concerned, okonomiyaki is just an excuse to eat seaweed and mayonnaise. I think the seaweed adds a huge amount of depth and savory addictiveness. I'm using 2 types of seaweed. The second one you see here is just regular old nori that I like to chop up into little sushi confetti. Then just set it aside like everything else. To your chilled batter, add in 4 eggs and then bust them all up in the yolk and stir. Mix in all your veggies, doing your best to take it in stages so you get only minimal spillage. And then add in about a tablespoon of miso to give it even more umami, as well as about a cup of panko breadcrumbs. This would also act as a binder for your pancake so that it hopefully doesn't fall apart. For this recipe, we're going to make 2 different sauces. The first one is a sweeter sauce called okonomiyaki sauce, appropriately enough, and the second one is going to be a homemade garlic aioli. For the okonomiyaki sauce, once more, I went off the beaten path and discovered a place I had not been. And like other self-discoveries, I started with about 4 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of hoisin sauce, a dash of sriracha, a solid glug of rice vinegar, a small jolt of soy sauce, and a few authoritative shakes of Worcester sauce. Then whisk together until your brownish red liquid has turned into a reddish brown. Since we've already covered how to make aioli in this video, we're just going to gloss over it here, but feel free to check out the link if you want a more detailed description. To cook the pancake, add a little bit of sesame oil for flavor into a pan, and some kind of neutral high smoke point oil such as grapeseed or peanut oil for searability. Then gather up a generous blob of your dough and pat it down into the searing hot oil with your bare hands. Once the edges get crispy, you can flip it, praying if you must to the CEO of the Panko Corporation so that your pancake doesn't fall apart. I know, it looks dark, but I should mention it's because of the seaweed. The seaweed is dark. I didn't burn it this time. Season with a squeeze of lemon juice to balance out all that insane umami carpet bombing that your taste buds are about to experience, and then spread over your okonomiyaki sauce. Alas, I failed again. I was trying to be fancy and draw the Fibonacci sequence in mayonnaise art, but it just ended up looking like Darwin's failed snail. So I just did the lazy thing and put a dollop of aioli in the center and covered the whole thing up with chopped green onions. How formulaic. Then I mixed about a half-half ratio of aioli to okonomiyaki sauce and sprinkled on a smattering of aesthetic driblets to try and convince all of you that I know what I'm doing. Okay, everybody, once again, in my patented and innovative natural eating stance, I'm gonna eat this thing. I'm really surprised that this is not more popular in this part of the world because it checks off every fast food box that there is to check off. This thing is profoundly umami. I mean, all the seaweed, the kimchi,
the sesame oil, the soy sauce, the miso.
It's all in there. And then you have this like sort of sweet sauce on top.
I mean, it's mostly ketchup.
And then that garlicky mayo. It brings us right back to umami town. Well, that's it. I hope you videoed well, my droogies. And as always, do what you love because nobody cares and it doesn't matter.